The views and opinions expressed during this show do not necessarily reflect the policy
or position of any affiliated workplace or employer. The views and opinions of the show do not constitute recommendations for therapy.
Please contact a licensed SLP for individual consult on your situation.
Please listen carefully.
What is communication?
An essential behavior of life. We have the both blessing and responsibility of trying to foster another.
It's transmitting a thought from one person to another.
It's the strongest way for two people to convey information to each other.
The back and forth between two people.
Communication is a lifeline.
It's just connection with other people.
Connecting people in terms of ideas or thoughts or needs.
Draws us out of ourselves, draws us into that relationship, builds up our families. Without it, we'd be lost.
Whatever it is that we do to express intent and achieve an impact.
Communication is the ability to express your needs, wants, frustrations, and desires to anyone that you feel needs to have that information.
Welcome to Speech Science, episode number 139. I'm Matt Hott, a school-based speech and language pathologist that also does home health care with dementia and stroke rehab, joined by our pediatric SLP, Michelle Wintering.
Hi, Matt.
And our expert in executive functioning and a private practice owner in the Philadelphia area, Michael McLeod.
What's up, buddy?
How does it feel? I like it when we say why we should be quote unquote experts in the area.
I like it. Yeah. we are a diverse bunch.
You forget like that we're actually knowledgeable when you're doing this show. You forget that we actually know what we're talking about sometimes. I don't know about you, but
I've learned a lot from both of you.
Oh,
yes.
Man.
We know a lot about speech. We don't know so much about the editing. That's all. That's just straight Matt.
Yeah, that's all I'm an expert in. I'm not an expert in. On today's show, why are we tuning in? We're going to be talking about maybe reimagining the way we look and approach special education. We're also going to do a somewhat deep dive or semi-deep dive on the ASHA PAC and what it is. We've also got our headlines from the news. We've got the Informed SLP checking in, and of course our ASHA Spotlight. But first, we always like to hear from everybody else. So go to our website, speechsciencepodcast.com. And from there, you can give us a phone call or text message, 614-681-1798, or you can email us, speechsciencepodcast@gmail.com. We have been on air spottily. We have like 4 episodes this season. We're in season 5. I miss you guys. I think this is only the second time that all 3 of us have been on the air together. So, Michelle, you were gone last week. How was Texas?
We're moving to Texas. Well, back to Texas. For those who've listened, we used to live there, and we went house searching and are in contract to buy our first home. So
what? You're going to buy?
Yes.
That's like a 30-year commitment.
Not really, because we're only going to be there for 3 to 5 years.
Fair enough. That's awesome.
It's still a long-term commitment for us. Yes.
So I'm going to ask, like, I know where any place in Texas is. What part of Texas are y'all looking around?
It's right near Fort Hood. So that is about an hour north of Austin and 45 minutes south-ish of Waco.
Wonderful. I don't know where any of that is, but awesome.
Yeah. So
and when do you move back in there?
We are moving there this summer, June, July timeframe.
Hey.
Then I will be somewhere for 3 years with this podcast.
You say that.
Instead of all over.
Yeah.
Matt can't keep track of where I live, but neither can I, so it's fine.
Mike, are you moving anywhere, or are you still in Philadelphia with that brand new speech baby?
I am still in Philly, and I'm sure I'll be here for the time being.
How does it feel there, Big Papa? The newest baby man on the block. How's that feel?
It has been awesome. I am loving every second of it, except for the sleeping. So that's been, nights have been the toughest. Constantly getting up and helping her out there. But it's been great. My wife has a nice maternity leave. And just obviously, this whole COVID thing and being able to work from home so often The past 2 weeks at the school I work at has been closed for spring break, and I'm able to go into the clinic a little bit less, during this early time. So I've been able to spend a lot of time with her, and it's been incredible.
That's awesome. And I saw you've been marketing yourself lately, doing a lot of like push talk or whatever you were doing. I saw that your Grow Now therapy is presented yourself as a speaker. So that's awesome.
As a speaker?
I don't know. I saw you go on somebody else's podcast. I was trying to toss you a softball here, dude.
Oh, yes.
As a what?
I'm trying to be nice. Be like, why are you important?
Every once in a while, someone will invite me onto their podcast, and I have to represent speech science on someone else's podcast. You can
invite them onto ours.
I was wearing my speech science onesie, so that's all that matters.
Onesie. They come in adult size?
Yeah, of course. Stretch it out a bit.
I found another speech therapy podcast out there, and we may be interviewing them. And now I can't find their name. I think their name is Mandy DeVito.
There's only like 30 of them.
There might be more than that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, there's a ton of speech science podcasts.
There's one speech science.
Or speech therapy podcast. Yes. There's only
one speech science, dude.
Guys, so for my last 2 weeks, I bought a new TV for the office that I'm barely in. And I figured out what's causing my brain fog.
What is causing your brain fog?
COVID.
I thought we knew that.
So basically they said that the COVID settles into your brain like a bunch of mini strokes. Yay.
Well, the vaccine should help with that.
Well, it's not going to stop the damage already done.
Oh, well, that's just more.
So you're saying that,
considering I've also had it. But I also assumed I could attribute that to pregnancy, but I don't know anymore.
So you're saying COVID damaged your brain is what you're saying?
It did. So like legit, I mean, I've made jokes about it on here before where it took me 2 hours to Google the term asymmetric. And I was Googling face not even. But I am noticing like my report writing is taking a lot longer. And Mike, you posted that thing about like, what was it? Short-term memory. And I scored like almost a 30 out of 40. Wow. And the little recommendation was like, you may need help. And I was like, yeah, I'd probably do.
Well, let's hope that's not permanent.
Oh, let's change gears. Let's do something positive. We got the SLP or the SSPOD Shoutout. It's your opportunity to recognize somebody doing something awesome in the field of speech and language therapy. The SSPOD Shoutout, hashtag SSPOD, comes from a woman named Jean. She's nominated her coworker, Sue Masters, a pediatric SLP working just outside of Boston. She says she has implemented a new AAC program for nonverbal students under the age of 5. So there you go. Somebody doing something awesome in our field. I don't do a whole lot of AAC with the preschoolers, mainly because I don't like working with preschoolers. Michelle, do you have any history with like AAC in preschool?
In preschool, not as much. I feel like kids that I've worked with, for whatever reason, I don't know the explanation on this, but by the time people often notice or decide they want to get someone a device, they're often more school age.
That's fair. Mike, any experience
with AAC?
Yeah, AAC in like pediatric preschool.
Yes. I've done some AAC with some early intervention out here in Philadelphia. And it's been awesome. I definitely love doing it. And, when you get that right match, when you get that right device, right program, right kid, and you just see the speech take off and the communication take off and the quality of life take off, it's awesome. AAC is still like, it's a huge part of our field, but it's still budding, and there's still so much to learn and so much to gain from it. It's awesome. Every time that you do it and it's successful, it's an incredible feeling.
And it just keeps changing and growing with technology. So I feel like that is one specific area in speech pathology that you will never know enough. Like you can try every day to stay up on it, but it is, as technology grows, our opportunities for, mediated communication, augmented communication changes as well. It's pretty awesome though. And hey, there's that reminder, right, as speech therapists, that there's no prereqs to AAC. Just Do
Just
it.
do it.
Get the devices, get the options.
So I'm struggling right now. I'm working with an occupational therapist and a physical therapist on placement of an eye gaze device.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that the student can access or the person can access it, but we also want to make sure that their functional body use is not hindered by this big old device sitting in their way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool. This is one of the very few times that I've done AAC as a co-treatment. And I'm learning a whole lot about things I didn't know about, y'all.
That's ideal. You've got OT, PT, and speech.
And did you know physical therapy does other things other than help somebody walk up a flight of stairs?
Yes.
Oh, Michelle, you weren't on air last week. I think I told Mike, my daughter graduated from physical therapy.
Oh, awesome.
Very nice. Congratulations.
She can hold her head up now. So, yay.
Yeah,
She's 6
PTs
months
do
old,
a ton, especially early intervention PTs.
But so that was our shout out to Sue Masters outside of Boston. On the flip side, if you've got a problem and you want us to discuss it, head on over to any social media and use the hashtag SSPOD Due Process. And that's where your opportunity to bring to the court of public opinion whatever issue that you have. The issue that is brought to us, and I would love to hear you guys, your opinions on this one. Emily H. writes in asking about difficulties she's having using telepractice in a nursing home and a communication device. Basically, she wrote in saying that all she can do is FaceTime with the family to try to troubleshoot issues. Yeah, this is a new area that, welcome to COVID, we've got to figure out how to do some of this basic AAC troubleshooting. Now we have to do it online.
Yeah, this is definitely a complicated territory here. Obviously, there's a lot of great resources out there for AAC and teletherapy and ways to make it work and introduce it and set up goals. But this is really an area where you really need to get creative. So whether it's you find an SLP who's in that area who can go to the person's house and do it, or whether you are recording yourself, modeling the device and then sending them the videos, it's just going to take that extra mile. You're going to have to go that extra mile with this family because AAC really, really requires that interpersonal connection and that rapport building and that consistent touch. So if you're a speech and language pathologist introducing a brand new device to a kid via teletherapy, you're going to have to get really creative, improvise, and just like AAC is all about tech, you're going to have to use tech to make it work, whether you're using FaceTime, Zoom, anything. If you're finding ways to share your screen so the device is on your computer and they're seeing it, whether you're sending a tech person to their house to work on it for them, you're really going to have to go above and beyond to make this work.
And Matt, you said this is a therapist who is via teletherapy, or she is in the nursing home and
she's working with somebody in a nursing home patient using an iPad with the family to troubleshoot the device.
Oh, so the family is with the patient and she is the teletherapist.
Yeah.
Okay. I would definitely reach out to the rep from whichever company this device is from, because the reps are like my go-to when I have a kid
right?
with I say kid because I'm primarily a pediatric SLP, but it doesn't matter the age of the patient. If you have a patient or a client, get in touch with the rep because you have access to so many resources from that company that are free to that family, including quick access guides, printables, practice activities, online activities that you could use in therapy to help train the support person with the devices. So I would really try to connect with the device rep.
This email got me thinking, and I can't tell you how many times that I'll get a text message from a aide in the school, or even like a message from the nurse working in the home care setting, who'll say like, hey, how do you fix this? And my immediate reaction is, I'll be there this afternoon. I'll be down there in a few minutes and I'll just fix it myself. And I don't think I've ever done any time to just do the like basic tech troubleshooting with the family. This email almost makes me think I need to like change how I do my introduction to AAC, because I usually, when I'm working with an aide, I'm trying to talk to them about how to make language work better for them in the classroom, but I never go over like how to fix a issue that is usually sometimes just hit restart on the device.
Or back to the home page, reset the page.
Yeah.
Hey, look, support person training is so important with AAC. So thank you, whoever wrote in, for reminding us all of that.
Emily H. I had a weird AAC situation a week and a half ago. The device asked to reboot and update. And when I did it, it said, hey, your Dynavox subscription has now been expired. Enter a new code. And it just locked us out of the device completely.
Oh, no.
So I had to call the county and I'm like, hey, so that device y'all gave us, it don't work no more. We're locked out. And then about 4 or 5 hours later, they're like, here, enter this. And by the way, I don't know if you guys have ever used a Microsoft Surface tablet.
Yeah, I have.
It's been a while, but yes.
Right. No keyboard. And the code they give you is like 25 digits with different like capitalizations, non-capitalizations, special characters. And you're just punching in a 25-digit code.
It's like old school texting where you had to tap through the 3 letters to get to the letter.
And I goofed it up twice. And you don't know you goofed it up until you get through the whole string of 25 numbers and letters and hit enter. And then it says, nope, not authorized. We want to hear from you. Head over to our website, speechsciencepodcast.com. You can phone call or text message 614-681-1798. Get those shout outs and due processes. Is it due processes or due processes?
Processes, I think.
Processes.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get them in, and we love to talk about them.
Like phonological processes.
Oh, yeah, I guess you're right.
There you go.
This first article today, it's coming out of the Disability Scoop, titled, Is the Pandemic a Chance to Reimagine Special Education? I love the article. Basically, it tells the story of a family who believes that they're not getting as much special services or special ed time as that is described in their IEP. And I love the discussion that this can start. And I pose this question to you guys. We're coming out of the pandemic. We have now realized that in-person and teletherapy, Michael and I talked about this at the last episode, language samples are about the same. Transcriptions are about the same. We are finding ways to do therapy that are more innovative, less arts and craftsy. But how can we change special education for the better coming on the other side of the pandemic? What do you guys think? What would be your 3 big takeaways that you would change in special education from what we have seen that we can do in a pandemic that maybe we weren't doing beforehand?
I think that is a great question.
3 big takeaways. I'm going to start with 1.
Okay.
I'll start with 1.
Let's go. Well, see, I just came out of therapy mode. Tell me 3 things that start with a push of a button.
As we discussed, I might get to 3, but I'll start with 1.
Okay. I want to hear.
1 being teletherapy, because coming out of this, more insurances are covering teletherapy than ever before. More therapists are at least minimally comfortable doing teletherapy than ever before, and more families are more comfortable doing teletherapy. So I feel like teletherapy, which has been around for 20 years or more, is actually really finding its footing because of the situation we've been in for the last year. And people, yes, it has its shortcomings, but so does various therapy settings in person. So do various therapy settings in person. And there are benefits. We've talked about them on air I know I've had families of my kids or my students who have said, I liked, particularly for early intervention or for elementary school, and even a high schooler, when I'm thinking of a certain family who they liked the teletherapy because they felt like it included more parent coaching, that they knew more what was happening in that session. and could get more tips for implementing things at home because they were sitting with their kid or in the same room as their kid doing therapy via teletherapy. So they had to play a little more hands-on role, but also felt they could play a little more hands-on role than maybe at an outpatient clinic or in the school or wherever it is that they might normally be seen. So I will say positive coming out of this is that teletherapy has solidified its place in our field.
So I went to Kent State University up near Kent, Ohio, for a year for leveling courses. And there was a professor named Dr. Sue Grogan Johnson there. And I remember this was right around 2010, 2011. And she was beginning to do research studies on telepractice.
Okay.
And at the time, she was telling us how, Michelle, you were like, where are you going with this story? But there was a point to the story. But she was telling us as therapists.
You're reading too much into my face. I was thirsty.
She was telling us as therapists, like, hey, this could be the next way that we are able to see students in areas of the state that we are unable to get to. And Mike, you're in Philadelphia. I'm in Cincinnati. Michelle, you're out in Colorado Springs?
No. few places
Denver?
go.
Palm Springs.
Where are you? Oh, that's right. Kansas City. Woo! There's that COVID fog brain. But for the most part, we're all in relatively metropolitan areas that we have a pretty decent, right? I've never been to Kansas City, so I'm just assuming.
Yeah, I'm outside of Kansas City,
okay.
But yes, I mean, I'm 45 minutes from Kansas City.
But Michelle and I grew up in Ohio, and we know that there are parts of Ohio where there are school districts that have 8 kids in a grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right, Michelle. I love the idea that telepractice may be this new foothold.
Mm-hmm. And I think it was starting to pick up back, around 2010, where I was hearing more about it. But granted, that's also when I was finishing up school for speech pathology. And I did one of my externships, my school placement out in Nevada, in pretty rural Nevada, Elko, Nevada. So northeast Nevada. And Elko was the quote bigger town in that area, and it's not a large place at all. So we also we drove to a couple of their schools that were 45 minutes or an hour away and still within that district, but there were even more rural places, and they were starting at that point, and that was 2011, 2012, started implementing. They had one rural school district had a community center that kids could go to do teletherapy with a therapist not there. But they had a centralized location where they would go for therapy, even though the therapist was not physically there with them. And that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to pop up more and more.
I do too.
Particularly if we can get the licensure figured out, because if we can do that and it's easier to have a license multiple places, there's less red tape for kids to get those services more quickly.
Mike, what is something that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what did this pandemic do to us? It forced us into lockdown, it forced us into social distancing, and it helped remind us of the things that we took for granted and, we need in our daily lives. And part of what we need is that social connection and that interpersonal relationships. And what is the one thing in special ed that is keeping us from doing that outside of the pandemic? And that's the massive amounts of paperwork and red tape. So I think the number one thing that should come out of special ed from this pandemic is a decrease in the paperwork and more experiences for these kids that are stuck in autistic support classes or special ed classes. They should be going out in the local communities. They should be spending more time with typically developing peers. They need to have more project-based learning and experience-based learning. And these special ed teachers that are devoting their lives to these classrooms and these kids, we have got to significantly decrease the amount of paperwork they are doing on a daily basis.
I love it. Kind of in that. Oh, I'm sorry. No, go for it.
I was just gonna jump back to the article real quick because if I think you guys had a chance to. Did you catch the part where it talked? This just blew my mind, and that's why I was interested in discussing this too. Is it's mainly from the standpoint of a mom who is advocating for her multiple children with special needs and special education. And she not only was dealing with teletherapy and teleservices for her kids and maybe not getting the services that they deserve to get with their IEPs, but she was on a ventilator and hospitalized and in a coma due to coronavirus herself. And the one part, I want to find it where it said this mother, before she could even talk again, was writing messages on like a dry erase board to communicate with her kids to help make sure that they were being taken care of academically and with their special needs.
Well, and as you find that, I felt it was almost heartbreaking because this whole thing talked about how much the school district has failed her, it felt like, from where they reused another kid's IEP program to where everyone was dismissing her students or her kids because they're like, they've plateaued. I guess I missed the part where she was on a ventilator. But
I guess this is obviously one family.
One family, correct.
That we're talking about, but that is one family of those of us who have worked in the schools or worked with pediatrics. No, one family that is an example of so many of the families of our kids.
I kind of hope coming out of this on the other side is a realignment, kind of going with what Michael was saying, of how we group our students and how we allocate the minutes for our students. I've had to be really creative this year to blend my teletherapy students with my in-person students. And I'm being more creative than I have been in the last 10 years. And I think my students are better for that. And I hope that stays with me for another 10 years.
And that's what the teaching profession is all about, especially with special ed or IEPs in general, is people that are creative, people that can improvise, people that can think on their feet, people that are in it for the right reasons for the benefit of these kids. And you can't get creative when you're doing paperwork and tracking data and doing all of these things that are, in the end of the day, not helping the kids. It's just, saving the district's butt in case of, due processes. So due processes. It's really, there's so many ways to improve special ed for the better of the kids. At the end of the day, it is a broken system. And maybe we could really revisit these things when we're fully back to normal.
Yeah. In this, Vaughn, the mom, right, also works for the public school system.
Yeah, she became a social worker.
I think so, a counselor or a social worker. And she, of course, said that she sympathizes with the overburdened staff, those of us who work in a school. And here's the quote from her, that it keeps going back to, what have we said on our podcast? It keeps going back to time and money, which it seems like school districts never have enough of.
I like the quote where she said that instead of measuring how ready a student is to fit into our system, we can measure how ready our system is to support all the students together. And they give the story about how when her son was in her senior year and they told her again that the kid couldn't answer open-ended questions. And she was like, I've had enough. Please tell me what my kid can do.
There you go.
So I think we set on the precipice of the future, the crossroads of teletherapy and in-person therapy. I think that we all have a great opportunity to make positive changes. So we want to know from you, what would you change in special education now that we are coming out on the other side of the pandemic? Hit us up, go to our website, speechsciencepodcast.com. You can phone call 614-681-1798 or hashtag it up, hashtag SSPOD, or hit us in the Discord, discord.speechsciencepodcast.com. Thinking of coming out of the pandemic, I'm fully vaccinated. I'm actually 4 weeks out from my vaccine. I'm feeling great, even though it is late here in Ohio. Michelle, are you vaccine number 1 or vaccine number 2?
So here, where I'm at in Kansas, they opened it to, I believe, 16 and older.
Yeah.
Last week. So I was able to get my first dose. My husband also got his first dose, and I've heard, and this seemed to happen for us, but we felt pretty terrible. Like I was very flu-like.
You get the
overnight.
Moderna or the Pfizer?
Moderna. Yeah, that was what was available here. And I was really hoping to get Johnson & Johnson because it's one shot.
Right.
I could be done. But I have heard that people who've had COVID have had a quicker response after the first shot. They're seeing some of that since you already have some antibodies built up. So my hope is that maybe the second shot, I won't feel as terrible because it was a little rough for a day, but still getting it. Don't want to go through COVID again. Still was better than COVID.
Mike, did you get the vaccine?
Yes, I did. I have been fully vaccinated now for almost 2 months now.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Michelle, you're joining us. And what was that you posted that is now saying that it's for breastfeeding mamas?
There's some research coming out, which I don't think is surprising. And I share this because I know we have listeners who are moms and possibly breastfeeding moms. And I know that you both are dads of young babies. So, but I thought this was positive to read that this study is showing that breastfed babies are getting antibodies from vaccinated moms.
Well, that's exactly what's happening with my baby right now. My wife just got her second shot yesterday. So she was a little achy today, but nothing crazy. And we're hoping our baby now will get these antibodies.
Well, that settles it. I'm going to convince my wife to go get the vaccines so that our baby can get the antibodies.
Yes.
I know that
gave me a little bit of hope having had COVID while I was
right.
pregnant too, because there was research showing that babies were being born with some antibodies from moms who had COVID during pregnancy. So I'm like, give this baby all the antibodies we can.
That is your speech science COVID update. All right,
there
moving on. Now, I'm glad that we're all getting vaccinated. It helps to the hard part I'm having right now is that I forget my boys are not vaccinated. So I'll be like, let's go not do anything because you're not vaccinated.
But it does make it a little more peace of mind.
It does. I feel better about it, to be honest. Okay. So when I ask you, what is a PAC? What do you guys think of?
A PAC?
A PAC. What is a PAC?
A group, a pack of wolves, a pack of animals.
Pack of wolves.
Pack of gum.
Pack of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts.
What about if I mentioned a political action committee? Guys, I got the update for the ASHA PAC this week. So first, I've gotten into so many arguments about this thing, and there is a current argument that I'm getting into on one of the Facebook groups for speech therapy that is like, ASHA needs to do more to change the law. Guys.
Okay.
Did you know what's wrong, Michelle?
I just said, okay.
Okay. Matt's getting on his soapbox. The hot box is coming back out, or hot topic, or whatever we called it.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. Did you know that the money that we give to ASHA does not go into influencing congressmen and senators to change the law? Did you all know that? I did
know that. Yes.
Did you know? And I'm going to share this with you. I need you guys to see this as I'm talking about this, if I can do this. You guys need to see how many people did not give. How many people are in ASHA right now? Do we know? Is it 200,000 people in ASHA?
I think so.
I don't know the numbers on that one.
Sounds very familiar.
Well, the ASHA PAC raised only a total of $225,000 last year from 7,000 total contributions.
Okay.
So I went to a training years ago, and they said that if every ASHA member gave $10, we would be one of the strongest PACs in the entire country.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, there are about 207,000 ASHA members, and only 7,000 total donations came into the ASHA PAC. They dispersed about 58% of it to Democrats, 42% to Republicans. And I know in a lot of the Facebook groups, that's where a lot of hatred comes from because they don't want to give money to the, quote, other team. But I don't know, man. Like, I give my money to the ASHA PAC. I gave them like $10 a year. It's not a whole lot, but here's what they've done with the money, though. They've worked with Congress and CMS to have Medicare cover key audiology and speech pathology services via telepractice. They work successfully with Medicaid programs to expand coverage by 36 major private health plans as well. They also Fight the Cut campaign to stop the 2021 Medicare payment cuts and created 7 new audiology CPT codes and 1 new code for PPE.
New codes for PPE.
They sent out 90,000 messages to elected officials, and 98% of the ASHA PAC supported candidates won their re-election in 2020 or 2021. So there we go.
Not bad.
Oh, and they added 6 states to the interstate compact. Michelle, the ASHA PAC is doing this for you because I'm moving back to Texas. The 6 states, Louisiana, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Utah, West Virginia, and
I gave
Wyoming.
money the last 2 years to the PAC with my renewal.
Did you really?
ASHA.
Did you really? Yeah. Mike?
I did not.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. Well, thanks for thinking of me.
But no, I bring this up because I think that there's not.
And that's thanks to you, Matt. Thanks to you and the nice woman I spoke to at ASHA.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, at the convention.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I spoke to her at the booth and she gave me a bag and we chatted for a while about PAC.
I feel like not enough people know that, like, it's also federally against the law for us to give money to ASHA and then them to use it to influence laws. That's
it has to be a separate,
yeah. That's why there's a PAC.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the more you know.
The more you know.
On the flip side, we'll check in with the Informed SLP. We've got our news headlines and our ASHA spotlight, and we are going home. You're listening to Speech Science.
This is the story of a very special woman. Just a few knew about her superpowers. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
And now for our regular research review, brought to you by the Informed SLP. The Informed SLP releases a monthly newsletter that brings you plain language reviews of only the newest, most clinically applicable research, keeping you up to date on advances in the field and saving you tons of time. So let's get to it.
This is a review of the article, Social Media and People with Traumatic Brain Injury, a meta-synthesis of research informing a framework for rehabilitation clinical practice, policy, and training, published in the American Journal of Speech-Language Pathology. Once you put it on the internet, it's there forever. A warning that's been sounded by parents, teachers, and employers alike, but isn't always heeded. To be fair, we know that written communication can be easily misinterpreted because it's lacking tone, body language, and context. Add in social communication deficits, like people with traumatic brain injuries often have, for example, and social media can become a source of stress instead of connection. Recently, Bruner et al. Studied a variety of data sources to learn about the social media use of people with traumatic brain injury, particularly their experiences using Twitter, and created a free treatment protocol filled with tasks to support social media use during the rehabilitation process. You can see the full protocol in the article, but in the meantime, here are some areas you'll want to address. Purpose. Would they like to use the account for business purposes? Do they plan to use it to update family and friends? Therapy tasks might include categorizing different types of social media posts. Knowledge and experience. Explicitly identify and acknowledge gaps in knowledge or impairments that may amplify challenges using social media. For example, impulsivity, difficulty identifying sarcasm, etc. Caution. Education about online scams, cyberbullying, and online safety awareness is paramount. Networks. Who would they like to communicate with now? What about the future? Help your client identify these groups of people and effective ways to reach out to them. And last, supports. Identify and provide access to patient-centered resources, provide training opportunities, and collaborate with communication partners. The main takeaway? People with traumatic brain injury want social media to support their social communication skills and reconnect, just like most everyone else. But the lack of support to do so functionally and safely can cause a plethora of miscommunications and missteps, making social media training during rehab more important than ever.
Thanks for listening to this review. If you're interested in more, come visit us at www.theinformedslp.com. Tell us how you put the research into practice, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at theinformedslp.
Welcome back to Speed Science. I'm Matt Hott, episode 139, joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mike McLeod.
What's up, buddy?
And Wonder Woman in her own right, Michelle Wintering.
I just had my daughter in a Wonder Woman onesie.
Yeah, we got stuff donated, and we found an Ohio State cheerleader outfit for my daughter.
That's awesome.
Right.
OH.
I-O. Mike is
is
like, I think I'm
crazy.
in some cult. That's what Mike thinks. Y'all,
You didn't know when you were getting into this Ohio.
Good thoughts. Happy thoughts.
Let's check in with the news headlines this week. First off, I guess I missed this completely. It's World Autism Month. Did you guys all know this?
Yeah, man.
Like Disability Month? I had no idea any of this was happening.
Yep.
That's it.
Well, you need to get on it, dude.
Well, April has always been a big push for autism awareness.
I was going to say, why don't I remember this from last year? That's right, because we were out of school all last year.
Last year, nothing happened.
I know that May is Better Speech and Hearing Month, so I just assumed Disability Month would be in the same month. But no, I guess not. It's also traumatic brain injury.
We also have to keep doubling up on months because there's only 12.
So many things. I also know April, shout out to our occupational therapists. It's Occupational Therapy Month.
See, there you go.
I found that out this morning.
Okay.
The second headline, this is just more for you if you're interested in the business side of speech therapy, but between now, the outlook from March 2021 to March 2027, speech therapy and other versions of speech pathology are considered to be one of the top growing market trends, right, for investments.
Really?
You all know that?
I do now.
What investments do I need to put into speech pathology?
Well, it says the global occupational and speech therapist and audiologist market was valued at $58.4 billion in 2017. And it is expected for a up to 25% uptick in the next 6 years.
I was just wondering if I could buy stock in general speech pathology.
So they talk about it like practitioners are opening up more private and group practice in their own offices. They're also working in more, what are HMO medical centers? Do you guys know?
It's an insurance-based thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the rise in teletherapy as a solution to diagnose and treat online.
Health maintenance organization?
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Or a preferred provider organization.
But yeah, so evidently, speech therapy is a hot growing market for investors. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
And then our last headline, in Chicago, parents are getting more time to file complaints against special education.
Uh-oh.
Special education advocates are pressing the state to help Chicago families impacted by the pandemic and other long-term challenges to allow them more time to press or to file complaints against their school districts, which is good. I feel like so many times districts get by with things just because of timelines or a deadline. Like, oh, you didn't get that in time. We're not going to hear that complaint against our therapist that's not seeing your children or anything.
I agree with that.
So
that's correct.
That is our quick headlines of the speech and language variety. In the ASHA Spotlight, it is always easy to check out what they're doing wrong. Like we talked about in the beginning, it's not necessarily them. It might be the ASHA PAC, but this is our opportunity to look at something they're doing right. And Mike, you brought this up. The Senate, they're working with the Senate to help pass the bill to postpone Medicare cuts. Medicare never wants to pay for anything, yet they always do.
Correct.
The next step, it still needs to go to the House. They must agree to the Senate passed bill, and the House is in recess until April 13th.
Of course they are.
But Medicare did announce that they will temporarily avoid the 2% reductions that were supposed to go into effect today. Happy April Fool's Day, everybody.
Is it real?
Yeah. So
is it
what I don't get? Okay, listen, maybe this is me just being an idiot. Mike, you're the private practice owner. Help me understand this. Okay. Inflation means things cost more, right?
Correct.
So if my milk costs more, if I own a private practice, I'm probably going to need to charge more to cover not just my milk, but my heat, my therapy materials, my testing protocols, et cetera, right?
Absolutely.
So why is Medicaid trying to make cuts?
Because they don't care. That's why. Because that's the simple reason why. Politicians do not care about people in need. They care about corporations.
True.
And they do not want the government using its money to go towards programs. They don't, just, the same reason why there was they want charter schools instead of public schools. They want to defund the post office. They want they want the government spending zero money and just free open market. But Medicare is a backbone that millions upon millions of people rely on, and millions of people have a career on. So if it doesn't affect the politician, they don't care. Simply said.
Well, that's.
So I think it is a lack of exposure, a lack of a personal connection. Just what you said, that last line, Mike, of if it doesn't affect them, if they don't personally know someone it does affect, it's hard to even consider that being an issue. They're looking at the bottom line of funding.
Well, y'all remember my fight with my state here in Ohio, where they told me that hearing aids are considered cosmetic.
Which is not just Ohio, as I've told you.
I know, but still, I'm not in other states, Michelle.
But that is a constant frustration for people who need hearing aids. And I'm sorry. I
know. I'd rather us argue on the same side of this one.
So frustrated by that. Having worked with so many people who have hearing aids and had coworkers. I went with a coworker to her appointment as an adult to get hearing aids, and they weren't being covered.
Do you know what? We have 1,400 rabid listeners. I think we should mobilize our listeners.
Let's do it.
I'm gonna create a little form that we can all, and we'll post it up on our Facebook page.
Yeah, like a form letter that we can submit.
To basically demand that the wording is changed on at least hearing aids. We can't do anything about Medicare because that's federal. But if we all bombard our states, maybe we can get that changed.
Let's do it.
Hey, we're gonna try to do something good, Mike.
I like it. Count me in.
Oh, man.
Doing something good, Mike. Like he disagrees with us.
That did come out much worse than I meant it to. I am so sorry, Mike. You are on the good side, right?
Thanks, man.
No problem. Oh man, y'all, this is wrapping up our episode. If you want to head over to our website, speechsciencepodcast.com, 614-681-1798, speechsciencepodcast@gmail.com, hashtag it up, SSPOD, and of course, hit up on our Discord, discord.speechsciencepodcast.com. It's hit or miss on the Discord, to be honest. I love Discord. Do you guys use Discord? Other than just to check out what we're doing?
Other than ours, no.
So I am on a bunch of Discords now, and I love it. We can broadcast
it's pretty
live
sweet.
onto a
It's
Discord.
not bad.
Now.
It is cool.
Okay.
So, all right. What are you guys doing this week that is not speech therapy related?
I'm going to the dentist tomorrow.
Ooh, on Good Friday.
On Good Friday. So a Good Friday dentist visit. So when you're an adult, a true adult, going to the doctor and things like the dentist is a totally different experience.
Yes,
so
it is.
Still getting used to that.
Mike, my 4-year-old has like 8 cavities, and he's going under anesthesia to get them fixed next month.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Michelle, what are you doing that's not therapy related?
Celebrating Easter this weekend.
Hey.
And making a bunny cake. I didn't make one last year for the first time in years, and I am making the bunny cake.
I surprised my boys, and I ordered a donut that is the size of a spare tire.
What?
Right. It is like yay big. And of course, we're on a visual medium right now for everyone listening at home. I have my hands about shoulder width apart.
We're going to need
I'll send pictures. I'll post them.
With a size comparison.
Yes.
To share.
So I will do that. That is their surprise for Sunday morning. Also, like this is a weird soapbox image. Like, did y'all know that like there are non-Christians that work in schools?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know they don't get their holidays off?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't until like this year, and I'm so surprised by that. Also, I've realized how small of a world I live in, where everyone I used to work with has always been of the same religion as I have been, or the same version of religion. So like now that I'm with people that are not, I'm like, oh my God, you don't get off for your holiday?
There you go.
Surprise me.
Well, it depends on the holiday. Do you mean for Easter?
Well, like Passover.
No, I mean, I was thinking like, I know depending on the organization, some people will do an Easter Monday. You get Monday off, but most places don't.
Yeah, no, but like we're all off on like public schools here in Ohio are off on tomorrow for Good Friday. But
really?
Like, yeah. But like people of like the Jewish faith didn't get off for Passover this week. By the way, happy Passover to anyone that was celebrating it when this episode was recorded.
No, I think it just depends on the district, and then also if I agree with you that it's arbitrary because it's based on typically national holidays and then trickle down to local.
Yeah, it just surprised me.
Areas who decide.
It was just surprised me. I was like, wait, you don't get off for your holiday? They're like, no, I have to take personal days. And I was like, ooh.
Well, everyone should get off for their birthday. It's a personal holiday.
Well, right. I mean, like let's be honest. I was like, how do I use my personal days? For my state bowling tournament, for work at comic convention. And they're like, yeah, I use mine so I can be off on my religious holidays. And I was like, oh, that doesn't sound fair.
Yeah.
But I'm taking mine off to go to Comic-Con.
I don't think most schools have off tomorrow.
Am I the only one? And my son?
I never did.
The other schools in Cincinnati?
A lot of schools here have off.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. I think it depends. I mean, I also, when I went to a Catholic school, we had it off.
Well, that's right. That's a given.
That's a little different.
What am I doing this week that is not speech related? Getting this train wreck back on target. That is what I am doing. We will be back next week, maybe, hopefully. Maybe we can put together 4 shows in 6 weeks and call it a record. I got upcoming interviews.
We have 3 new babies in 6 months, so that's pretty good.
And children are so difficult to take care of. Our intro music is Please Listen Carefully by Jazar. It's licensed under an attribution and share alike license. Our bump music is the County Fair Rock. Copyrighted John Deku. Find his music at soundcloud.com/DirkDogMusic. The Informed SLP was At the Count by Broke for Free, licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution license. And the closing music playing right now, it's The Slow Burn by Kevin MacLeod, is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution license. Oh my gosh, guys, I forgot to tell you this crazy story. One of the aides I work with found my YouTube channel and found out that I used to work in radio, and now they won't stop asking me questions about working in radio.
That's hilarious.
So I was like, listen to the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating.
Can't hide your fame.
At home, what'd you say, Mike?
Can't hide your fame, dude.
Can't hide it. If you're at home, hit those 5 stars, give us a follow, and share us with somebody. We're going to try to push to 2,000 downloads. And coming up at the end of April, we will have a giveaway for those of you that have rated us 5 stars. So make sure you get a screen grab of that and start submitting that. I will have a giveaway for you at the end of the month. For Michael McLeod and Michelle Wintering, I'm Matt Hott, and the immortal words of Janice Wright, always be a willow. The oak looks strong but will crack under pressure. Until next week, so long, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Speech Science is edited and produced by MWH Production. Please follow Speech Science on Twitter at SpeechSciencePC and like our page on Facebook. For more original podcasts, please visit exceptionaled.com and rate and subscribe to our podcast anywhere you get your podcasts.